Bastards worse than the cultists, inhuman monsters, muscleheads who think martial arts are everything, and illogical bastards seeking only strength. That was how people referred to the Namgung clan. The scene opens at the local inn, where a group of men gathers to discuss the selection of the Namgung clan's vice-clan master. The first man confidently bets on Namgung Dae, the eldest son known as the Blue Sky Dragon. The second man places his bet on Namgung Jung, the second son and Clear Sky Sword Dragon, recognizing his formidable abilities. The third man, more intrigued by the rising star, bets on Namgung So, the youngest son referred to as the new rising dragon. The selection of the vice-patriarch was typically determined through a competition, and any of these talented sons, as descendants of the patriarch Namgung Hancheol, had a fair chance at securing the position. Curiosity arises among the men as the first man inquires about the news regarding the youngest son of the Namgung clan. One of the men, driven by spite, calls him trash, while his friend cautions him to watch his words in case a member of the Namgung clan overhears. Nonetheless, the man adds a sly comment, stating that the youngest son could even be recycled as trash, prompting laughter from the group. Unbeknownst to them, their cruel remarks infuriate a man who happens to be listening at the adjacent table. The saddened man pouring himself wine is Namgung Daeso, the youngest son of the Namgung clan. Unlike his brothers who inherited their father's talents and were hailed as the Three Dragons, Daeso falls short of their abilities and is considered below average. On this day he lost the patriarch competition, and his dantian, the center of his cultivation, was shattered. Overwhelmed by despair, he decides to drown his sorrows, consuming alcohol as if it were his only solace. Just as Daeso believes all hope is lost, an old man suddenly appears and politely asks if he may take a seat. Daeso remains silent, but the man interprets it as permission and joins him. As Daeso runs out of liquor, he calls for more, and a few bottles later he reaches his limit. It is at this moment that the old man starts to tell Daeso a story. The old man recounts how 8 years ago, he lost his wife and child to an attack by unidentified criminals. His life spiraled into despair, and he empathizes with Daeso's current state. Despite Daeso's initial dismissiveness, the man continues sharing his tale. Driven by grief, he dedicated himself to seeking out the group responsible for his family's death. But his efforts yielded no results. It was during this period of despair that he conceived an idea. What if he could turn back time? Angrily, Daeso questions whether the man is drunk and declares his lack of interest in listening to someone's intoxicated ramblings. He urges the man to shut up and drink. Growing annoyed by the disturbance, some men threaten Daeso and insist that he keeps quiet. Reluctantly, Daeso agrees. Undeterred, the enigmatic man tells Daeso that after 8 long years, he has finally completed the technique. However, he confesses his fear of attempting it. As Daeso rises, frustrated with the man's presence and the events of the day, he suddenly stumbles, only to be caught by the old man in an instant. Grateful for Daeso's willingness to listen, the man thanks him for hearing his story. As Daeso steps outside, he releases a heavy sigh. The man's words linger in his mind, and he realizes that, like the old man, he has no home to return to. Being deemed useless compared to his accomplished brothers, Daeso was cast out from the clan. Additionally, he had exhausted his meager funds at the inn and found himself uncertain of what he should do next. Lost in his thoughts, he unwittingly finds himself deep in the mountains. His solitude is interrupted by a bandit who demands his money. Daeso truthfully claims to have none, frustrating the bandit, who decides to attack him instead, stabbing him with malicious intent. As Daeso lay on the ground, coughing up blood, shock coursed through his veins. The realization that his life might end in this pitiful manner plagued his thoughts. Meanwhile, the bandit, convinced that Daeso was concealing some hidden valuables, thoroughly searched his pockets. To his disappointment, all he discovered was a single piece of paper emanating a faint blue aura. Dismissing it as worthless, the bandit callously cast the paper aside. Unbeknownst to him, it landed near Daeso's head, and Daeso couldn't help but wonder how it ended up inside his chest. It dawned on him that the peculiar old man he had encountered at the bar must have placed it there. He grumbled about the man's annoyance, remarking on his abysmal handwriting that rendered the contents of the paper illegible. As he continued to cough up blood, Daeso believed that his end was near. His life flashed before his eyes, and in his desolate state, he even considered if it would have been better to embrace death. Weariness enveloped him, seeping into his very core. Suddenly, a vivid scene unfolded before his fading vision. A young child with warm brown eyes. Daeso watched as two maids played with the child, and a surge of astonishment washed over him. He realized that he hadn't perished after all. Recognizing the familiar faces, he deduced that he was in the nursery located within the annex building of the Namgung clan. The place had been constructed for the convenience of his mother, the esteemed lady of the clan, and it was where he had spent his childhood alongside his brothers. Confusion filled his mind as he questioned why he was witnessing this particular moment. Amidst Daeso's musings, a woman announced that she had brought the nanny. The nanny proceeded to undress, preparing to feed him. The other nannies rejoiced, delighted that the young master showed such fondness. A year passed, and Daeso began to take his first tentative steps, right before the watchful eyes of the maids. Their joy knew no bounds, deeming him the epitome of cuteness. It didn't take long for Daeso to become convinced that he had regressed in age. At just 2 years old, he comprehended that in another 18 years, as a direct descendant of the Namgung bloodline, he would once again face his older brothers in the vice-patriarch captain competition. Although he briefly entertained the notion of exerting himself to reclaim victory, Daeso swiftly abandoned the idea, acutely aware of the misery that accompanies relentless effort, even with natural talent. He lacked confidence in surpassing his accomplished brothers. Thus he racked his brain for a solution, and a realization struck him with exhilarating force. He needed to escape the clutches of the Namgung clan. The prospect excited him so much that he momentarily forgot his current infantile state, resulting in an embarrassing accident within his diaper. At the age of 3, Daeso began taking walks within the nursery, using them as opportunities to familiarize himself with its layout. As he strolled through the rooms, his eyes fell upon countless paintings and delicate vases, their true value unknown to him. A sinister smile tugged at his lips as he pondered the worth of these treasures. Determined to live up to the esteemed reputation of the Namgung clan, Daeso poured his heart, soul, and toil into his martial arts training. Yet despite 2 decades of relentless effort, he could only achieve the status of a third-rate martial artist. The shattering of his dantian in front of the entire clan served as a testament to his perceived worthlessness, a memory that sent shivers of fear down his spine. It was precisely this haunting realization that fueled his resolve to formulate an escape plan. Daeso's plan hinged on withdrawing from the upcoming vice-patriarch competition and relinquishing his rights within the clan. If this initial strategy failed, he intended to flee to a distant place with the amassed fortune he had cunningly accumulated. In this faraway haven, his family's influence would hold no sway over him. By the time he turned 20, he aimed to accrue as much wealth as possible, fully aware of the extravagant items strewn throughout the clan's domain. Even selling a fraction of these possessions would be sufficient to meet his needs, Daeso mused. Strategically, he expressed his fondness for a particular dragon painting on the wall to his maid, contemplating a potential value of 10 gold coins for the piece. Fast-forwarding 2 years, Daeso was now seen carrying a vase, much to the astonishment of the servant who assumed he was merely engaged in a game. However, Daeso adamantly declared that the vase held tremendous personal value. The servant insisted he return it, but Daeso countered by expressing his desire to sell it and establish his own home alongside the head maid and the other servants. The servant's surprise lingered as she contemplated Daeso's proposition. Throughout his previous life, the maids had always treated Daeso with honesty. The head maid expressed her lack of objection to the idea, but she reminded Daeso that unlike the other servants who were martial arts masters, the maids were once orphans taken in by the late great lady of the clan. They feared becoming a burden to him in his pursuit of domination. However, Daeso assured them that it would not be an issue. He revealed his grand plan of leading a long and inconspicuous life. Daeso had grown weary of the Namgung clan, with his father's formidable martial prowess and his brother's prodigious talents proving to be burdensome. Disenchanted with the notion of becoming the strongest martial artist, he resolved to live a low-key existence. Instructing the head maid to take the vase and deliver it to the heavenly bank under his account, Daeso brushed off concerns about seeking permission from the patriarch, chuckling at the notion that his father had no interest in such matters, consumed solely by his martial arts pursuits.